Hey, you beautiful people. Welcome to Fireside Stories with Vision Psych 7. I'm Vision Psych 7, and I hope that you and your loved ones are all doing fantastic and that you're all safe, healthy, and happy. Today I'm going to read a wonderful tale from several centuries ago called The Elves and the Shoemaker, which is a story about quiet generosity, empathy, compassion, and perseverance. So cuddle up with your blanket and get ready to enter the wonderful world of the Elves and the Shoemaker. Once upon a time, in a small village there lived a shoemaker and his wife, who, by no fault of his own, had become so poor that at last he had nothing left but leather for one pair of shoes. So in the evening, he cut out the shoes which he wished to begin to work on the next morning. Since he always had a clean conscience, for he was a very good man, he could then lay down in his bed and fall sound asleep. The next morning, he put on his work clothes, came downstairs, and was just going to sit down to work when he noticed that there were two beautifully finished shoes that stood on his table. He was astounded, and he knew not what to say. He took the shoes in his hands to observe them closer, and they were so perfectly made that there was not one bad stitch in them, just as if they were intended as a masterpiece. Soon after, a buyer came in, and as the shoes pleased him so well, he paid more for them than was customary, and with that money the shoemaker was able to purchase leather for 2 pairs of shoes. He cut them out at night, and the next morning was about to set to work with fresh courage, but he had no need to do so, for when he got up, there were 2 gorgeous pairs of shoes already made. He inspected them like he had the morning before, and saw what masterpieces they were. Even as he inspected them, people who didn't even need shoes noticed the beautiful shoes through the window and came in and gave him more than enough money to buy leather for 4 pairs of shoes. The following morning, too, he found 4 more pairs of perfectly made shoes, and so this went on constantly. What he cut out in the evening was finished by the morning, so that soon he had his honest independence again, and at last he became a wealthy man. Now it befell that one evening not long before Christmas, when the man had been cutting out the leather for the shoes, that he said to his wife before going to bed, "What think you, if we were to stay up tonight to see who it is that lends us this helping hand?" His wife liked the idea, and then they hid themselves in the corner of the room, behind some clothes which were hanging up there, and watched and waited. When it was midnight, 2 tiny little men came in through the mail slot, dressed in rags, and without shoes on their own feet. They both went to the shoemaker's table, took all of the work which was cut out before them, and began to stitch, sew, and hammer so skillfully and so quickly with their little fingers that the shoemaker could not turn his eyes away for a second in pure astonishment. The 2 little men did not stop until all was done, and stood finished on the table before they laughed happily and ran quickly away back out through the mail slot. The next morning the shoemaker's lovely wife said to him, "The little men have made us rich, and we really must show that we are grateful for it. They run about and work so very hard, yet have almost nothing but torn rags and no shoes at all. The poor little men must be horribly cold and feel unloved and even unwanted. I'll tell thee what I'll do. I will make them little shirts and coats and vests and trousers and knit them both a pair of stockings. And you, my dear husband, must get to work and make them 2 perfect and shiny little pairs of shoes." The man said, "I shall be very glad to do it." And one night, when everything was ready, they laid their presents all together on the table instead of the cut-out leather for the shoes, and then concealed themselves to see how the little men would behave. At midnight, They came bounding in and wanted to get right to work at once, but as they did not find any leather cut out, but only the pretty little articles of clothing, they were at first astonished, and then they showed intense delight. They dressed themselves with the greatest speed, putting on the lovely clothing that the shoemaker's wife had made them, as well as their shiny new shoes, and they began singing.
Now we are boys so fine to see, why should we longer cobblers be?
They danced and skipped and leapt over the chairs and benches. At last they danced out of the front door. From that time forth they came no more, but as long as the shoemaker lived, all went well with he and his wife, and all of their undertakings prospered. And so they lived so very happily for the rest of their lives. The end. And that, my dear friends, is the story of the elves and the shoemaker. So what did you think? Those elves did the kindest thing for the shoemaker and his wife, didn't they? And they didn't even ask for anything in return. But the shoemaker's wife wanted to do something very nice for them, which made them all very happy. Oftentimes in our lives, there are very caring people who work behind the scenes without our knowledge to help us out. This is the highest form of generosity, when people do something for others without anyone knowing about it. This way they're motivated only by true love and caring, and not about recognition for doing something good. Such people are very, very special, like these elves were. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and until next time, stay safe, happy, and healthy. Have a wonderful evening or day, and I'll see you soon.